Darkness here with Much Props, going to give you another how-to video. Today we are building something from the world of Pokemon. Yeah, you heard me. I get between 30 and 40 requests a day asking for random prop suggestions, and this was one that has been requested repeatedly over and over and over again to do something Pokemon related. I was a teenager when Pokemon came out, so I never really got into the cartoon itself, but I have a little brother who was obsessed. He had this video, Pikachu's Party, and would watch it on repeat over and over and over again and drive me and my older brother insane. So I know a lot of you out there like the games, the cartoon, the movie that just came out recently, and I thought maybe I could make something from that world and pick something that was similar to something that I would like, and one character stuck out in particular. Yeah, Cubone. He has like this skull thing over the top of his head, and I kind of thought it looked like a dragon skull, you know, that kind of stuff. I'm into Skyrim and things like that. So I thought maybe I could take Cubone's head and make the skull. In the video, you're going to see me build it. At some point, it is a finished Cubone. It's assembled. Then I go in with a wood burner and I add a bunch of details to it, just foreshadowing what's going to happen. If you don't want to do that and you want to make it pure, stop there, don't do the wood burning stuff, and just paint it. I'm going to take it a step further and add some texture. Today we are building Cubone from Pokemon. Let's get to building. Template in the description. Download the template in the description, cut it out, and trace it onto your materials. I use 10mm EVA for this build just to make it extra sturdy. Heat forming these parts gives you better seams and makes the skull hold a better shape. You just need something domed or rounded in order to push your materials over. I use barge contact cement on most of my builds. It's a bit more expensive than other brands, but I get a better result than the other brands I've tried, and to me it's worth the cost.
The big wedges cut into some of the pieces are to help round some of the parts. The small marks are registrations that help you align parts together. If you're putting this together, this is the part where you change the play speed back on the settings so that you can go a little slower and watch how I line up each individual part. Once you get one side done, you just repeat the step over again on the opposite side, then you attach the halves together. A lot of times when I'm building something this large, I end up having to go back and glue the middle again because there's kind of that window of tackiness for your contact cement. The jaw ridge just glues on top of the base, right behind the eyes. There is a backside to this part. For some reason I didn't hit record while assembling that part, but it just glues on so that there's a better transition between the ridge and the back of the skull. The horn is made from these three pieces glued together, and then you just put it on top of the base build. I thought about using clay foam for this part, but I decided it was quicker to make it just out of EVA. If you want to make your horns a little more accurate, you could use clay foam and sculpt them to an exact dimension that you need. With small parts, when I'm heat forming, I usually overbend the curves because there's a recoil, and especially with thicker materials, your seams will want to pull apart, especially when making things like a cylinder. So it's best to overdo it so that they're pushing against each other versus underdo it where they pull apart from each other. For those of you that want to make your build a little more authentic, this is where you'd stop. You'd simply sand over your seams to make them nice and smooth, fill in any cracks that you may have. I'm taking mine a step further and adding texture, so I'm using this polishing bit on my Dremel and then grinding over the entire surface, inside and out. To add even more detail, I took a wood burner and added cracks. I also burned big holes by using the flat side of the wood burner bit that I'm using. And to get kind of the porous structures that you see on bones, I used the tip of that bit to then just poke into the surface in random spots.
You guessed it. Classy dip. 2 coats.
Now I'm pushing acrylic into the cracks in order for that great texture to stand out more. Then you simply take a paper towel and wipe away all the excess, the high points. If you want your skull dirtier, dry brush white on first, then do this step. The acrylic washes after. That way the white kind of gets polluted with a little bit of your washes that you're putting on top of it. To build up the color variations and pick up the high points now, I'm going to use a dry brushing technique with some acrylic. If you've never done this before, it's pretty simple. You just take some acrylic paint on your brush, wipe off most of it onto a paper towel, and then drag it across the high points on your build.
And we are finished. Here is the end result. A bit different than I'm used to building. I even went on the inside and did detailing. I realize for you Pokemon purists, Cubone has not got a textured head. I realize that. I got to that point and was like, it looks kind of plain, especially as big as I made it. And I wanted to kind of add some extra detail to it, take it a step further, make it my own. And I'm really pleased with the way this turned out. I think the texture on it ended up making the details pop that much better, and it hides a lot of the seams, so I didn't have to worry about filling stuff. But yeah, maybe you will try and make this Pokemon skull and impress your friends with your gotta catch 'em all prowess. I'm assuming that's a thing. Maybe you'll get some
Pikachu?
And inevitably they're gonna ask you, how'd you make that? You can give them one of these, tell them much props. Can't really see out of it, it's a little big. Peace out!